At the most simplest breakdown of the game, I think it's all about countering your infantry killers. Infantry killers. They really do as described. They are really the most efficient way to clear out enemy infantry while you're assaulting a position, or even control any part of the map. These units are key to winning the battle. Firstly, I'll go through the most effective type of infantry killers. For example, on the German team you have the Lux and the 222. These are the 20mm variety that come in the light vehicle form, which is very easy to maneuver, and they're very fast and can really help you push anywhere on the map. In this example, you'll see how it's done effectively. I am basically moving my infantry for the line of sight and proning them when I see the enemy so they can start shooting. My Lux here doesn't have to be direct controlled because the AI can shoot better against units that are behind cover. This will allow you to micro other things, such as using your infantry to grenade or to go into the other side of the map and fight on another flag. This is very important to reduce your micro time, plus the AI definitely shoots better. And in this example, I'm doing the same thing where I am direct controlling the Lux. As again, the negatives of this are I cannot micro any other unit, and my advance is slowed down because I can't move my infantry forward because I'm focusing on direct controlling. When I direct control against units against cover, you can see that I'm not very accurate, as I can't really aim at the unit's head that's popping at the sandbag. In some situations, yes, direct control is better when the AI is glitched and cannot fire, or if you want to run over things. But generally you want it to fire really quickly and get the hell out of there before the counter comes. Because infantry killers are so important to the battle, your enemy would want to counter it as soon as possible. So you want to do as much damage in a short amount of time that you have. Of course, the enemy will not always have just infantry on the point where you can send the infantry killer. Usually they will have a tank or an AT gun. That's the reason why you have to win tank battles or get rid of any emplacements or AT guns into position. This is why I think the game is about countering the infantry killers. You can see here sending the infantry killer alone will just result in its death. You need to firstly counter the Sherman that's there. So for example, I may wait till I be able to afford a H to counter that Sherman, then I'll kill the Sherman with my H, and then send my infantry killer to mop up. Then the game will go on where the enemy will try counter my H, or find a way to counter my infantry killer and then avoid the H. But getting rid of the infantry killer is the main goal. I'll quickly go through all the other infantry killers, which I believe are the A-grade infantry killers, and I'll go through a brief description, but not in complete detail. This I'll save for future unit tutorials. The 222, very similar to the Lux but has paper thin armor and is susceptible to the 50 cals of some of the allied nations. The reason you'll really buy this is if the timer on the Lux is not available, such as at the very start of the German game, the Lux has a longer timer and you cannot buy it, so sometimes the 222 is better for a rush. The T60, slightly more expensive, but can wipe out infantry a bit faster due to its high fire rate. It does have a lower profile, but its armor is quite thin, and in practical use can actually get countered by the Lux. Then you have the stationary 20mm. They may be good at defense and also assaulting in a direct line, but may not be able to attack multiple flags and run away from a counter. First you have the 20mm Type 2 from Japan. Oerlikon 20mm from the UK team. Then you have the more bigger type of 20mm or infantry killer 40mm kind. These are more expensive but do the job quite well. Some of them can even kill tanks. First up, you have the Crusader AA 20mm. Decent armor but a bit more expensive, but does the job very well at killing infantry. Crusader AA 40mm. Damn, this unit can kill anything. Nothing more to say. M19, also a 40mm, but suffers the reload time and also lighter armor, which makes it not as effective as the Crusader AA 40mm. Then you have the Wirbelwind and the Oswin, generally a bit expensive to just take out infantry, but they do have stronger hull armor which makes it harder to kill, but they do have a weak turret armor which can disable them quite easily. Then you have the ZSU-37, not too bad as well, similar to the M19, and also the 61K, which is the static equivalent. Lastly, for the A-grade units, we have the 150mm Type 27, which is quite devastating. Some nations do not have the 20mm vehicle to rely upon, such as USA. They do have some second-class anti-infantry killers though, the very cheap half-track M3A1. To use the M3A1, you need to be able to get behind the enemy position and hit them from behind, because hitting them behind cover, it doesn't actually really do much damage. In this example, you can see that I do the correct thing. Basically just send the infantry up for line of sight, prone them when they see the enemy so they can fire back, then let the half-track do all the damage. Of course make sure that there's no counter with the half-track there, but once there isn't any counters, just go right through. The only risk is, of course, some AT rifles or AT bazookas, which are prone to miss. Remember also, it is quite cheap at 150 MP, so it doesn't matter too much if you lose it, and the potential gain is a lot higher than its risk. They have buffed the 50 cal weaponry, and the half-track does use the 50 cal, but it's still not good enough to go toe-to-toe frontally as the 20mm. In this example, I just used the half-track by waiting in front and trying to shoot at the enemy. Eventually the enemy will be able to shoot out my half-track and take out the crew, then potentially steal my half-track. This is not what you should do. You need to go in fast and behind the cover. I do have a specific half-track tutorial in the past, which you can check out as well. Another second-class anti-infantry unit is the Greyhound. It can also use its 50 cal to shoot out because it doesn't lose its crew very easily. It can also flank light vehicles and also medium to heavy tanks depending on the side armor with its M3 gun. You also have the M20. The reason you'll get an M20 is because it has a free bazooka and it has a shorter timer, so you can get it at the very start for a rush where the half-track does have a timer. M16, quad 50 cals. Not that great, but can really shred through sandbag cover. PKP, very low profile and pretty good at taking out infantry. Maxon AA, quad 50 cal, a slow in placement unit which is good for defense or for taking out some light vehicles. Isuzu AA truck. I would rate this as a second-rate 20mm gun only because the truck gets engine damage and it's quite hard to actually use it to kill infantry because it can only fire from the sides or the back. There's probably a few I missed, but these are the main ones which I would use. Basically, infantry killers are a very efficient way to attack a point and to really clear the map from infantry. A lot of players think that attacking is very hard, but really all you need to do is enable the 20mm to do its job. You don't need to buy a lot of artillery, it's very expensive and really inefficient to do. Also, just make sure you are able to counter the unit that will counter your 20mm. If you can do that and get tank domination, you will be able to get 20mm or infantry killer domination. And this means knowing your timers and knowing when the enemy can counter your units, such as if you buy an early looks, you know the enemy cannot counter you for a minute or so until the Stuart comes. This means you need to do as much damage as you can with the 20mm, then move away and get another counter for your Stuart before you come back again and do damage with your 20mm again. So counter the unit that will counter your 20mm, then instill complete domination with the infantry killers and win the game.